it's big, it's brash, it's bold. It's Super League Formula. Hello everyone, I'm Andrew Marriott, trackside here at Zolder, Belgium. Coming up, the innovative knockout qualifying in this programme. With me to analyse the action, a man who's won in touring cars, he's won in GT, a former British former Formula 3 champion and Formula 1 test driver. Kelvin, these cars, you hadn't seen them before this weekend, but they are very, very impressive.
That's right, Andrew. It's my first look at them. There's the FC Porto team car there, and I'm really looking forward to this innovative qualifying system.
Yeah, that will be fun. Of course, we've had 2 races thus far. It all started at Donington Park, moved on then to Nürburgring. Here is 2 groups of qualifying, and let's check out now that early action from those first 2 races. It's been fun.
Donington on the dawn of a new era in motor racing.
And we are racing, away we go for the first ever Super League Formula. Look at Beijing, they are flying.
Which wasn't the case for all concerned. Much fancy Milan quickly came to grief, to the disgust of their driver, Robert Dornbos. Meanwhile, Liverpool were ploughing through the field and would finish in 5th place.
Liverpool looking for another place as we go into the foggy essence, and he makes it nicely.
But it was Beijing who took the checkered flag to the delight of David Ricon, with Roma 2nd and Tottenham 3rd. The second race saw an absolute downpour, much to the dismay of Al Ain.
Oh, and a big off there!
And Borussia Dortmund quickly followed suit.
But he didn't have his dancing shoes on.
And Sevilla went on to win the race with Flamengo 2nd and Liverpool 3rd. On to Germany and on board with AC Milan at the Nürburgring. A fortnight ago, it's a flawless performance from Robert Dornbos as he led from pole to the podium. Craig Dolby secured a superb 2nd place for RSC Anderlecht. And Alessandro Pieggi for Galatasaray finished 3rd. Victory for AC Milan, considering that meant starting at the back of the grid in race 2. An almost equally impressive display as Dornbos came through the field to finish 6th. Victory, however, went to Jelmer Berman for PSV Eindhoven. Craig Dolby swept to a magnificent 2nd place for Anderlecht, and by finishing 3rd, David Rigon ensured that Beijing maintained their overall lead in the championship. So after 2 of the 6 races, Beijing lead with 151. PSV Eindhoven have 127, Sevilla 120, but it's all to play for. Coming up here at Zolder.
Yes, we're just a few moments away from this qualifying session now, and there's that green and white Beijing car. But one of the stories of the season thus far has definitely been this young man, Craig Dolby, and of course he is driving very much for the local football club here, RSC Anderlecht, and he went last night to a game to see them play. Let's find out more. After a disappointing round 1 in Donington, RSC Anderlecht and Craig Dolby started their championship in earnest with a fantastic double 2nd place in Germany last time round. With confidence riding high in the Belgian camp and at their home track, they'll be hoping to build on that success. Just up the road, Anderlecht FC took on Mouscron in front of a packed crowd, so Craig Dolby went along and prepared to meet the team and the fans.
I've always wanted to come, like as soon as I signed up for RSC Anderlecht, I wanted to be here. On a racing track, you've got 2 miles or 3 miles of track, and here everyone's just packed in one area and all looking down on you. Whereas in a racing, it's only on one corner. The RSC Anderlecht fans are great, as you can hear now, and they accepted me very well, and I'm going to go and win this weekend for them. Listen to them, it's fantastic. They give me a big cheer, you know. I'm just here to have fun, and I'm going to enjoy it this weekend and just give it my all.
Zolder, a very special place for that young man. He won his first ever car race here, and he was just 15 years old and a few days. Well, everyone getting ready now, and drivers already in cars. Well, let's check out the rules for this qualifying in the two groups. And of course, Group A coming up first. Autumn time here, as you see, 18 teams, I should say, split into two groups for 15-minute sessions. The top 4 cars go through, and then we head off into the real knockout section of this, and group qualifying times do affect the quarterfinal draw. So this is how they'll match up first Group A against fourth in Group B, first Group B, fourth in Group A, and so on. The 4 winners go through to the semi-finals, the 2 winners go into the final, and then the winner will take pole position. We're really excited about how that's going to work. It certainly worked well at the Nürburgring. To decide how they went in either Group A or Group B, we actually had a draw, and all the drivers attended. And let's check out how that worked. So let's have a look at those balls being pulled out of the hat. Here we are, Andy Soucek, who was fastest in practice this morning. He's pulling out his heat. He gets into section B. Sometimes you might have all the drivers in A, or maybe all the quick drivers in B. It's all a bit of a gamble, really. There's the young man, Paul Mayer, a last-minute replacement in the Borussia Dortmund car. Here is Davide Rigon, and he has definitely been one of the fast men, the man to beat. And there, the young man, Wissel, from Germany, driving for the Swiss team. So that's the lineup. And let's now take a look at all those 18 drivers. Yes, there they are, sitting down. So we're moving on. Group A then, and these are the teams in it. PSV Eindhoven, Seville FC, AS Roma, Liverpool, Milan, Rangers, FC Basel, Borussia Dortmund and Olympiacos. They are in Group A. They pulled the balls out and pretty well, it was reasonably well matched actually. But these boys are getting ready to go, and just moments away now from this qualifying. How would you fancy this, Calvin? It's only 15 minutes here. It's about 5 or 6 laps around this track. They haven't actually had that much testing. I had no testing here, very little practice. I mean, they're on the line here. There's Garcia there, driving the Seville car. The Spanish drivers had all that experience in GP2 cars, and has raced a lot around here. But this is going to be tricky. You really got to be on it from the beginning.
Yeah, 15 minutes is not very long at all to get many laps in. The lap time is about 1 minute 17:18. It was in the untimed session.
Yeah.
But the track was still a bit damp.
Still drying,
so
wasn't it?
They may be quicker now in the dry. But there are some quite experienced drivers in these team cars, and there are also some inexperienced guys. You already picked up on Craig Dolby, who
Craig Dolby's
fantastic the last time out at Nürburgring.
Yeah, and then this young kid, Paul Meyer, who had never sat in one of these cars until this morning, and he was 3rd fastest in the practice. Absolutely phenomenal performance by him. He's just been racing this year in Formula Renault, so obviously they see a real talent there. Garcia still waiting to go out. These cars, of course, are very new, and they're very powerful, special V12 engine built in Britain by the Menard organisation. But the chassis, they're not British, they've been built in the States.
That's right. All of these cars have the same chassis, so each team, there's in theory, no chassis advantage between the teams. They're all built by Panos Technologies in America, Elan Technologies, I think they call the company. And they're very high-spec cars, big, lots of carbon parts, big tyres. You can see the front wing there, very aerodynamically orientated, and they produce about 750 horsepower. They sound fantastic.
They sound absolutely fantastic. Now, these guys, since that practice, will have adjusted certain things. They can affect both the mechanical grip, that's the grip you're getting from the suspension, and the grip you're getting from the downforce, from the wings, and you've got to balance those two. And that's the key to getting it right and getting a good car, isn't it?
Exactly, that's right. There are some experienced guys running these cars for the football squads, and they are aerodynamically tuned, but the average speed at Zolder is quite slow. And what we mean by that is most of the corners are quite slow speed, so the aerodynamics does not come into play as much as the mechanical grip. Only in the quicker corners does that play
One thing, Kelvin, that comes into play here is brakes. This is very tough on brakes. This Zolder track used to be the venue for the Belgian Grand Prix, and I remember seeing all the Formula 1 teams with great big brake ducts on the cars, much bigger than any other circuit.
Yeah, that's right. They have to do a lot of braking down to probably second or third gear for a lot of the corners, and braking is often where you see the difference between drivers. Obviously, everybody on a straight line can put their foot down on the floor, so that's not the difficult bit. It's the difference is usually played out in the braking areas and the corner speeds.
Now we've got in the top left-hand corner of your screen the countdown clock. It's already ticking, so we've already lost a minute of this. We're a minute into the 15 minutes, and
I just saw the Borussia driver, Meyer. There seemed to be, I don't know if he's got a problem. He was waving a bit and gesticulating. We're a minute and a half into the session.
Probably a little bit nervous, and
possibly, yeah.
Sometimes you can make mistakes in the cockpit of a race car when you get nervous. Obviously, we've mentioned some experienced boys in this, and one of them is Antonio Pizzonio, who drove in 20 Grand Prix for the likes of Jaguar and indeed for Williams. And quite a few boys here have been racing over in America in the Champ Car Series, which incidentally, before it merged with the Indy League, raced here at Zolder last year. So some of these boys will have some quite good experience of driving fast cars around here. We'll watch out for people like Christian Gomendy in that respect. And of course, Robert Dornbos, who is another man with Grand Prix experience, and we expect Robert Dornbos to be very quick here. Bobby D, they called him in America. Now the clutches are dropped and off they go. And we've got the first car out on track. And that's the young man, Paul Meyer, from Holland, just across the border. Car's coming off the pit lane. An unusual pit lane the way it comes out, because from the start-finish line here at Zolder, it's a very short downhill sprint to that first left-hand corner. And in the past, we've seen so many incidents at that corner.
That's right. And they changed the first corner, in fact, recently, which is why the pit lane tends to go a long way round, and they rejoin sort of after the first corner, which is quite unusual.
Yeah, here's the Rangers car. That's Ryan DL. Ryan's been racing also in the Champ Car Series in America, and most recently in the Grand Am Series. And because of that, he had to miss the previous round at Nürburgring, although he was in the opening round at Donington Park. So he's got a bit of catching up. There isn't a driver's points championship as such. No. It's all into the football teams.
That's right. And Ryan DL, you mentioned there, Andrew, he actually lives in Glasgow, and Rangers is the team that he supports, so it couldn't be more apt.
No. Well, he also has an apartment in Miami these days, I understand. Him and his brother both raced out in the United States, and Ryan's had some pretty good results. Now you can see the nature of this circuit. It's quite unusual to get up to our media parking. We drive through an executive housing estate. You know, I don't know what. Fortunately, the circuit was here before the houses, so they don't complain too much.
Yeah, that's right.
And if they would complain, it would be with Superleague, because these things are just so loud. Bit of curb hopping here. Now you need to do that to get a good time.
Yeah, that's the last chicane, the Jackie X chicane, named after the famous Belgian driver, and it's the Roma car driven by the Italian Toccacello, just leading into the first corner and beginning his first timed lap. So these guys, they've gone quite a long way into the session before starting a lap. We're over 10 minutes into the session, and 10 minutes remaining, but then none of them have yet completed a time lap.
So they're going to only have 3 laps to be on it, really, aren't they?
Yeah, in theory, yeah.
So it really is the guys that can wind themselves up quickly. On board with the AS Roma car, we've got some absolutely fantastic onboard cameras for you. Now just talk a little bit of the picture, just breaking. I'm sure we'll get that back in a moment. So following the Roma car, just looking back, Calvin, at the winners here. The Belgian Grand Prix held from 1973 to 1984 here at this track, and they missed out on 1974. They went to a different place. But last winner here, the late Michele Alboreto, and John Watson, the
Belfast driver. He was a winner here, as indeed was Jody Scheckter and Mario Andretti. So great names have won here.
Yeah, they've had all the big names here, and as AS Roma car finished that lap, they've gone top of the table as we stand. He's quickest at the moment, Toccocello in the Roma car.
Yeah, Toccocello was leading in Germany, and 3 laps from the end had his car break, and that must have been absolutely desperate for him. So he's definitely a man to watch. Very experienced in these sort of cars, raced in the A1 Italy team, I think in the first season of that series.
The Eindhoven car that's just finished a lap we're looking at now has just gone fourth place at the end of that lap, I beg your pardon. So he's gone fourth at the closing of that lap.
Go and notice that some of the drivers started on brand new tyres, others have got scrubbed in tyres. Would that make a little bit of difference to how they tackle this qualifying?
Those that were on scrub tyres will be able to go quick from lap 1, and the new tyres will probably be the 2nd or 3rd lap before the car's really working well, so we should watch out for that. The Roma, and now AC Milan we've got top of the table now. The number 3 car has gone top.
So AC Milan in the lead at the moment. And this circuit has got quite a lot of undulation, as you can see from our pictures. It's not one of those flat Silverstone style racetracks. It's got plenty of dips and swoops in it.
Yeah, exactly. There's quite a few hills, and especially when you're in the car, these drivers, the car sits very low. There's a good example of it there. It's quite difficult to see the next part of the circuit. So the Sevilla car we see dropping down to the hairpin. He's near the end of the lap here.
These cars do have sequential shifts on a paddle, so you can paddle shift in, no gear linkage or anything like that. But a lot of the other driver aids that we've seen in the past in Formula 1 are banned here. There's no traction control and no ABS braking. So these are quite a handful, these machines.
Yeah, they're big, powerful cars, and as you say, Andrew, not really electronically helped, so it puts a lot more emphasis on driver skill. So sitting in 4th place at the moment, the Sevilla car.
Borja Garcia. He's raced here quite a lot. Wears glasses. Not too many racing drivers wear glasses. But
that is unusual, yeah.
Jacques Villeneuve, perhaps the most famous recently. There's the Liverpool car, look.
Currently quickest, Liverpool.
Yeah, these times will all change in the next 2 or 3 laps before we get some sort of order. Adrian Valles, another very quick young driver from Spain. I think Liverpool FC. Liverpool have got some Spanish players.
Liverpool has pitted. The target here, you can see on the graphic, the target of these drivers is to finish this session in the top 4 and then go through to the quarterfinals, and the same applies to the next group that will run Group B.
So it's the Borussia car on the bubble at the moment. It's the Basel, the Basel car from the Swiss team car. It's currently on the bubble. Yeah, Liverpool, Milan, Rangers in at the moment. In fact, Ryan Diel doing a very good job, and there he is on screen. AS Roma also in 4th place. Quite a spread in lap times, 0.8 of a second. Quite a bit of a spread, but we've got 6 minutes remaining.
Rangers pits in. Yeah, we would suspect maybe those times to close up towards the end of the session. It's pretty close between 4th and 7th. There's only a 10th of a second between those 3 cars, so that's pretty tight.
They look as if they're going to put another set of tyres on and just take the tyre warmers off another set. Here's the Borussia Dortmund car.
Got 5 minutes left, so he has got time, but they need to be pretty sharp with their tyre change.
Now this is this young man, Paul Meyer, who's raced mainly in Formula Renault in this last year. Quite a competitive series, but very much a junior series. And this guy's probably got 4 times the horsepower he's used to.
Yeah, he's a young driver. He is a Dutch driver, so he's on reasonably home turf, I guess, here. He's not too far from Zolder to cross the border to Holland, but as he rolled off, he does not looking that quick at the minute. But
Liverpool still fast. You can see the sector times there. 1:18.202 is the time to beat at the moment. Liverpool FC from Milan.
Just Dortmund, he locked the brake there and down into that hairpin, but he's safe at the minute. He's currently sitting third anyway.
Yeah, Rangers have just dropped out. They're fifth now.
Yeah. Dortmund trying to improve his position, but he's currently third. Yeah, he did go in. He made a mistake on that lap.
I guess they're all going to bolt another set of tyres on and go for a Banzai lap, just try and get in.
Well, he's short of time now, 4.5 minutes. It'll probably take a minute to do these tyres, so I suggest that's too late a time to stop. And is that car being pushed away?
That's the Olympiacos car, yeah, I think it is.
They need to get out, currently in 9th. He's a second and a half off the pace.
So, fastest man out there at the moment is Adrian Valles. He was quick in the practice sessions. Rangers is out there still trying to get itself back into this final 8, the top 4 in this Series A section, as it were. And Olympiacos is bottom. They've obviously got a few problems, but only 1.5 seconds off the pace.
So we follow the Liverpool car again, trying to improve his time. He's actually he's quicker in the first sector, currently in the second sector, and that's saying he's slower in the second sector.
No, he's faster.
Quicker also, the time moved across, so he's quicker in sector 2. This should be an improvement at the end of this lap.
Yes, he goes down into the 17s.
Big improvement.
Liverpool FC really setting the pace here, half a second quicker than anybody else. Now, it looks as if he's going to do one more lap. So Adrian Valles is really flying in the colours of Liverpool Football Club. Milan currently in second place.
The Liverpool car still on a hot lap by the look of things. He's on the back straight, just taking the chicane at the end of the back straight, which is called imaginatively the chicane. down into the Villeneuve chicane. He's only 4/100ths off his best in sector 1. Through the Villeneuve chicane, sector 2, accelerates out, second gear, third, fourth. Coming to the end of this sector, let's see if he can improve again. Very close. It's touch or go, this car wobbling a bit on the heavy braking for the hairpin there, and he's currently, by the look of it, 6/100ths off his best, so he could still improve this lap if he does the final chicane, the Jackie X chicane at the end of the lap.
So Liverpool
momentarily lost him, but I'm sure we'll see the closing of that lap.
Now, what's Eindhoven doing? Well, slower than Liverpool for sure, almost a second slower in sector 1, so they're not going to knock them off the top. Liverpool looking very strong to go into this knockout stage. Head-to-head knockout coming up, absolutely unique in motor racing. The Eindhoven car currently 8th of the 9 out there.
He's cruising for whatever reason. See, he's 3.5 seconds in the second sector, and he's pitting in. That's the reason he was cruising.
So Liverpool on top of the pile, 1 minute 26 seconds to go. Anyone that's going to get a better lap is out there at the moment.
They need to cross the line before the clock goes to 0, so they can actually finish that lap after the session is finished, provided they start the lap before the session is finished.
There's the Basel car, Max Wissel, the driver.
Currently 7th, and he's looking for 0.6 of a second to qualify, and he's a second and a half from the quickest guy, which is still Liverpool, Adrian Valles.
Yeah, young German driver who been racing in the Formula BMW series with little cars with motorcycle engines. See cars going over the curbs there, Kelvin. I mean, you've really got to use these curbs, but you have to be a bit careful about how you do it and where you do it.
Yes, it's most advantageous usually in the chicanes to straight line the chicane as much as you can. They'll tend not to use the big high curbs on the quicker corners because that unsettles the car.
I noticed that the Basel car has now gone to 3rd. So young Max Wissel is just 18 years old, the youngest man in the series. Very good qualifying lap by him.
Yeah, that's good. And Sevilla Borja Garcia just crosses the line in time, 10 seconds to go to the end of the session. So he's got this lap to count. Yeah,
and Garcia could get in there. If he does, he'll knock out Rangers. Ryan DL currently on the bobble in 4th place. No question of doubt. Oh, and he's gone second. Seville goes second and just 73 one-thousandths of a second slower than LFC. Great lap there from Borja Garcia, the bespectacled driver from Spain. Knows this circuit well. We expected him to go quickly, and he has certainly delivered here. Now, Olympiacos still out on track, currently at the bottom, and they're about 0.7 off the pace, and that's not...
In sector 1, yeah.
Won't get them in, will it?
That's the car they fitted the new tyres very late to that car, as I was suggesting, a bit too late, and the clock has stopped. This lap will count, but he's already 7/10 down on the leader, Liverpool.
Got the young driver from Denmark in it, Kasper Andersen.
And a second off in sector 2, so it's not going to be a strong lap. 1.7 off. In fact, unless he performs a miracle in sector 3, he won't get this car through.
Not possible, not possible. Trying hard though, and sliding the car around, coming out of that final chicane, and he will stop the clock as the session is now over. And so the A group is headed not by LFC, but by Milan. Look at that,
Last
right
lap
to
of the
the
session.
very last lap. Milan put in a really quick one. We weren't expecting that. And indeed, Seville now second and Liverpool third, but Milan it is who are at the top of the pile. So all the quick laps there coming right at the very end. Marshals out there, the hard-working marshals, waving their flags. So, very good performance. Right at the closing seconds by Milan. And it was Robert Dornbos who did that time. Robert Dornbos, who has been a Milan fan most of his life. His auntie used to work for the team, used to send him shirts and other tokens from the team. Of course, some Dutch players have really made a difference at Milan some years ago. So Robert Dornbos, who is a former Red Bull Formula 1 driver. There is Rangers being pushed back. Ryan Diel, the blonde driver from Glasgow, now based in Miami. And that will be the end of his qualifying for today. So 5 of these guys can get out of their race suits and get ready. There are all the times: AC Milan, Seville, Liverpool, Borussia Dortmund. That was a good effort. And then not going forward, FC Basel, Rangers, AS Roma, Olympiacos and PSV Eindhoven. And we think they probably had a bit of a problem with the PSV Eindhoven car. But Robert Dornbos, Bobby D they call him in America, a very good qualifying, does know the circuit and has put in an outstanding job. And Robert, always a good guy to interview, very upfront. Been to a lot of Grand Prix as a test and reserve driver as well for Red Bull.
Yeah, it's a good way to get mileage. He's staying in the car, of course, because perhaps want to do a few adjustments before he jumps out, and it won't be long before these guys are back out. I'm just wondering whether he'll get out and have a stretch and a rest, or whether he prefers to stay in the car until his next run, which will follow shortly after.
How would you play it, Cohen?
I'd tend to stay in, actually,
yeah,
and keep myself to myself and not really be interrupted or interact with anyone. Just try and close down and concentrate. And
lot to think about.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you sort of drive the lap again in your mind? And
yeah, I always do that before I go out in a car. Just before I'm about to go out, I'll mentally drive the lap, and then at the end of it, Dornbos will probably have a look at the data. They've got data logging on these cars, so he'll be able to look at the lap and see where he needs to improve. We're having a look here, Paul Meyer in the Borussia Dortmund car, cutting through the chicanes. He's qualified in 4th, so he goes through to the next session.
So impressive that for a young kid that's never driven a car like this before. Yes, he knows the circuit, but nevertheless, I think that's phenomenal.
Here's the 2nd place Sevilla car and the 3rd place Liverpool car. Those are the 3 that are through, in addition to AC Milan Dornbos that we were already talking about.
Yeah, Liverpool fastest for much of the session.
There is Dornbos and the Milan car, just powering out the last chicane onto the straight. and he's jumped out now. They've got the tyre heaters on the car to keep the temperature in those tyres. I beg your pardon, he's still there.
No, he's still there.
His helmet matches the car, that's what threw me.
Well, a lot of these drivers not using their regular crash
right,
helmets,
yeah.
using the colours of the teams. I think all of them, actually.
Yeah.
So all the memories we got when we're doing commentary of drivers' helmets, and that's one of the things we do. Tear up the piece of paper, really.
It is actually, it's a good point, that, Andrew, because that is one of the easiest ways that we identify drivers. The numbers on race cars nowadays are so small, it's very difficult to see the numbers, and the driver's helmet design is a lot more distinctive.
So we've seen half the cars coming up in Group B. We've got the championship leader, Beijing. We've got RSC Anderlecht with that young driver, Craig Dolby, exciting young talent. We've got FC Porto. We've got Tottenham Hotspur. Well, they need to put some smiles on the faces of the fans because Tottenham, the Spurs, been having an awful season back in the Premiership. Galatasaray, that big team from Istanbul. We've got Corinthians from Brazil. We've got Al Ain, which is a team from Dubai in the Middle East. From the UAE, we've got the other Brazilian team, Flamengo, and we've got Atletico de Madrid. So those are the 9, I should say, for this group. And be interested to see if they'll go any faster. Track conditions seem to be stable now. The sun's out here on this lovely autumn day here in Zolder, near Hasselt. Interesting track, and can't see it from our pictures, but very close to the end of the circuit as the Flamengo car comes out. Is an absolutely massive canal. There's great sort of ferry boats going down there carrying all sorts of stuff. But they are out. We've already got 2 minutes into this session, so just like last time, they've got to get into the programme pretty quickly.
They haven't rushed out particularly, have they? Maybe the tyres, maybe they don't get that many laps out of these tyres,
no.
Which is why they're saving themselves.
They've only got 4 sets,
yeah.
So they have to save the tyres.
Yeah.
So that's the deal. Here's the FC Porto car.
Currently 6th place in the standings after the first 2 events. And the driver is the Frenchman Tristan Gomendi.
Yeah, he's raced a lot in the States, also raced in sports cars, seen him at Le Mans a few times. Now, I don't think his crash helmet is in the football colours, is it? It's in silver.
No, it's a paint. It looks like a brand new helmet that hasn't been painted yet, unless that is his style. But he rounds the final corner and powers out onto the pit straight to start his lap.
On board with the Porto car.
First corner's a left-hander. He'll be down 3 gears for that left-hander. A little bit of understeer through there, and then we've now got a long double right-hander.
This is the canal turn, and that just, as it goes to the right there, the big canal that I mentioned is just running parallel with that. And then this is an important right-hander here.
That's it, leading out onto the back straight, and the longest straight on the circuit here. Behind the pitch, you can see the pits in the background. And he brakes hard. There's a tight chicane here, probably 2nd gear, and then he'll climb uphill and drop over the top, down to the left, and down to the next chicane. This is the Gilles Villeneuve chicane. Another very tight corner, and he should use quite a lot of curb here to straight line. Well, he didn't take that much. He's on it a bit on the exit. Next corner's flat out, so it's fairly tight, but no need to brake for that one or lift. They'll climb up and drop down the back straight into the hairpin. Boulderberg hairpin, that'll be 2nd gear. Little wiggle as they come out of the gear. Not really a corner, that flat through there. And one remaining corner, Jackie X chicane, which is a left-right chicane.
And that's a lap, 4.1 kilometres. It's a busy, quick little lap.
See where that puts him. Porto is currently 5th. He hasn't qualified, and he goes 2nd, so good lap.
Bit of dirt out on the circuit there, Kelvin. Wouldn't want to touch that.
Across, yeah.
So Galatasaray in the lead at the moment, and on a hot lap at the moment, we understand. Galatasaray. That's Al Ain there, the team from Dubai. A lot of interest in this series out in the Middle East.
Yeah, and we've got the comparison sector times at the bottom there. His target is Galatasaray, currently quickest in this session, so he's looking for a 24/7 or better for Sector 1.
Galatasaray,
some way off.
Huge stadium in Istanbul. I was there a couple of months ago when there was a big match on, and they have fans that I can tell you blow the horns and sing and scream all night. Didn't get a wink's sleep. We were doing some TV the following day at another motor race.
I've never been there, but I've heard it's a really intimidating place to go as a rival team.
Galatasaray, interesting in as much it's not just a football club. They also have clubs for about 6 or 7 other sports, including, I think, even water polo. There's the Al Ain car, though.
He's some way off, 1.2 off in Sector 2.
This guy hadn't driven this car before today either. This is Bertrand Baguette, a Belgian driver, better known in the World Series by Renault, where he's had a number of podium finishes, but obviously he's got to get into the programme here with this car.
Got an untidy exit out of the final chicane there, and his lap time was a 20.4. He is actually in 4th, so as it stands, he's through. But he's 2 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, we haven't had any times yet from Beijing or Corinthians. Here's that Galatasaray car with the young Italian driver in it, and he's been racing in Ferrari GT cars recently, so this is going to be something rather different for him, though he has done the previous 2 races.
He's been bumped to second by the Atletico Madrid car, so he's hoping to retake at the close of this lap, hoping to retake the quickest time. It's kind of irrelevant where they finish. They want to just be in the top 4 really to go through, because from now on it goes to knockout. So provided you're in the top 4, you start with a clean sheet next time. He didn't improve on that lap. He stays second, but that's good enough.
And FC Porto, I should say, on the bubble. Great Portuguese team.
So here's the pace setter, Atletico Madrid, starting another lap.
Interesting guy, Andy Soucek. He's half Austrian, half Spanish. He speaks both languages very well. Done most of his racing down in Spain, however, and has won that very competitive Spanish Formula 3 championship in the past. There's also been racing in GP2 and World Series by Renault, where the cars are quite similar to this, just a little bit slower. Well, GP2, the car's probably very similar pace, actually.
Yeah, all of those 3 series, very similar size car, similar size engine and power output. So it's relatively easy to jump across, and you know, they're all professional guys, so they can accommodate the differences, the slight differences between the car. Soucek is 2/10 off his best in Sector 1. But he's sitting top of the pile anyway, so all he's trying to do is make himself, make his position stronger. Just closing Sector 2 now, he's a 53.5, another 2/10 off, so he needs to improve half a second at the end of the lap to improve his lap time.
As we saw in the first group, the A group, things changed very much in this qualifying right at the end,
yeah,
so we can't say that these top 4 are set at the moment. Atletico Madrid, Galatasaray, Corinthians from Brazil, and then Porto. They're the 4 that are in at the moment. Beijing, who currently lead this championship, currently not in at the moment.
He's sitting 5th.
Yeah, sitting 5th. Just done a very quick first sector time, though, has Beijing. David Rigon.
He's gone quickest. Rigon's gone quickest at the end of that lap.
Good performance by Rigon.
It's an 18.1. He took half a second off the pace. Sorry, I beg your pardon. 3/10 off Atletico Madrid second, Galatasaray third, Corinthians. First we've seen of him, Antonio Pizzonia, Brazilian driver and Brazilian team representing.
Yeah, well, we're still saying that David Rigon is fastest. He won the first ever Super League race at Donington Park, of course, and then finished 6th in the reverse grid race.
And he's spun.
Oh, and off he goes.
No damage, it's a harmless spin, but...
and he's stuck, he's not going to get out of there.
Right, how long we got? 5.5 minutes left in the session. This is going to be interesting to see whether they continue the session. We've got a replay of it here. He just... into the chicane halfway around the lap. It was kind of a slow, it looked very slippery.
Curious,
kind of
wasn't it?
Slow motion spin. But he's beached, he's not getting out, the driver, so he'll be hoping to get pushed away from there.
Right, here's the Corinthians car now from Brazil. Antonio Pizzonia veteran of some 20 Grand Prix. A man who, it has to be said, had his ups and downs in his career.
Yeah.
This season he's been racing in the domestic touring car series and he's gone into the pits.
Yeah. We might see a bit of that now. While that car is beached there will be a yellow flag in this sector. The marshals want him to climb out, Regon, but he probably doesn't want to climb out.
Just looking at the badges on that marshal's coat, I think he's from the UK. And in fact, a lot of the officials running this race are from the UK.
Right, good, yeah. He's pitting. They're all going to pit because you can't improve your time when there's a yellow sector. What I mean by that is the yellow warning flag.
But there's only 4.5 minutes left.
Yeah. Yeah, will they stop the clock? Won't they stop the clock? But they're taking it as a chance to fit some new tyres. That's the Atletico Madrid car. Currently second, and he's looking to secure his position. Corinthians behind. They're currently fourth, so they're through also as things stand.
He's using his regular helmet, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
So Beijing still on the top, but currently beached after that spin.
And we're following the Porto car, currently fifth, so he's the first non-qualifier. He needs to find 0.3 of a second in order to qualify. 1.1 from pole, but he's 0.3 from fourth, which is the target.
We've only had 8 cars out, haven't we?
Yes.
Out of the 9. Somebody is missing. Is it the Anderlecht car?
Oh yeah, we haven't seen one.
Yeah, I think that's obviously got some mechanical problem, so he won't go through.
He's in touch anyway, Porto, a 10.5 down in sector 1. He's actually quicker than the pace setter in sector 2, so it's going to be tight to the end of the lap. One more corner, it's the final chicane. Down here, left and right. It's quite tidy. We've seen a lot of them sliding. That was a neat exit. Let's see if it's close enough to the target. 17.79. Great time. So Porto go top of the pile.
Good performance by Porto. Here's Flamengo, one of the big teams in Brazil. Now, what can he do? Hopefully we'll get some timing on that to check him out. Tuca Roca.
So we've got 2 Brazilian squads and 2 Brazilian drivers in those cars in this Group B. Corinthians sitting 5th. Flamengo, this car, Tuca Roca, currently 7th. So they both need to find about a second in order to be comfortable into the top 4. He's 0.3 off in sector 1. They need to find some more in this middle sector and the final sector. Porto still top of the pile on a 17.79. Villeneuve chicane. You can see in the background, still beached, is the Beijing car of Regon.
Roca would like to have a finish here because out of his 4 races thus far in Super League 4, he's had 3 retirements. He did also have a podium finish at Donington, second in the reverse grid race.
I don't think this is going to be quick enough. He's some way off, 0.9 off in sector 2.
Interesting thing is that he's from Sao Paulo, but the team is from Rio. And the Paulistanos and the Rio people don't usually like each other too much. There's a bit of needle between them.
It's a strange mix. He probably gets some grief when he goes home. He's a long way off. He's a 2.5 seconds off the pace. Still not through into the top 4. So Alain here, we're following.
Bertrand Baguette.
A long way from the pace, 2.7 seconds off as things stand. So we've got a minute left and he needs to pull something out of the bag here to get through to the second round.
Atletico on a quick lap, I think, and on the 15 car.
Yeah, we've just seen a quickest first sector from the Atletico Madrid squad. And
yeah, Andy Soucek quick in practice, Kelvin, so he's the one to watch now.
Yes. Well, as things stand, he's through as Alain takes the Villeneuve chicane. The Beijing car still in the background there. He's 0.6 off in sector 1.
I noticed that the Anderlecht car has just come up on our little timing screen there, so maybe he's just got 1 lap to try and get a timing.
Yeah, there's some kind of mechanical problem, and they started the session late.
Very late.
50. It's not. he's not going to get round Anderlecht. He needs to be already on his timed lap. There's only 8 seconds. Yeah, there is the Anderlecht car.
Tottenham Hotspur down there in a somewhat disappointing 7th place. So Duncan Tappy, the driver.
Okay, the clock stopped, so this is the final lap for all of these guys. There's the Anderlecht car. He's approaching the last corner. No time recorded yet, so let's see what he can do in this one-time lap. It's his last chance, but I think it's a long chance.
Very quick in the second sector. There's the checkered flag. So that's it, and still waiting to see his time. We haven't got a time on the screen for Anderlecht at the moment, for Craig Dolby. So Atletico Madrid, it appears, go through. They definitely go through. Porto, Beijing, and we think Galatasaray. Well, disappointing there for Craig Dolby, and we think he might have gone 4th. What do you reckon here? Dolby still on a quickie?
No, he can't. The checker, he's already crossed the checkered flag.
Late,
but the graphics showing him in 4th. If he produced a 4th place from one-time lap, that's a fantastic performance.
Yeah, this boy
to bump Galatasaray and bumped Corinthians. Those were the 2 that were originally qualified. So
yeah, and I noticed that Duncan Tappy did a quick lap at the end, but it's just knocked out by Dolby because he's 5th.
Yeah, Tottenham went 5th, but that's a fantastic performance from Dolby to produce a 4th place qualification round in one lap. Don't know what his problem was, but he started very late. There's the team, and congratulations each other. They're very, very happy.
Yeah, that's a Belgian team that Craig's driven with in lesser formula, and he knows those boys pretty well. And people were a bit surprised when they suggested he might drive this car, but he's done an absolutely great job. There's the FC Porto car being pushed back, and here is Craig Dolby coming back in. As you saw, was at the match last night when Anderlecht scored a 2-1 win. And we think that the Anderlecht players will be here tomorrow to cheer on Craig Dolby.
That is a great performance. He finished the lap after the session had finished, and actually we lost our live timing momentarily, which was why we weren't aware of it straight away. But great applause from his team, and that's a fantastic job.
Yeah, just 20 years old, and has had some difficulties in his racing career. He doesn't have much money, but this boy is really making a name for himself. And we thought that the Super League Formula would find some new stars. Well, put that boy in the list at the top of it.
Leader, Beijing, driven by the Italian Rigon.
There's the FC Porto, yeah.
They're through to round 2. They've finished that session in 2nd. And Atletico Madrid, that was quickest in that session, 2.
Yeah, Atletico Madrid with Andy Souček. And don't we check, Calvin, how do the times compare with the first session? We need to check that one out.
Yeah, we've lost our timing screen as things stand. They don't turn. Here we go. So Group B, quickest was 16.9.
Pretty similar, actually. FC Porto 2nd, Beijing in 3rd. Anderlecht sneaking into 4th there on just that one flying lap. Then Duncan Tappy for the Spurs, Galatasaray for the fans from Turkey, then Flamengo and Corinthians. The 2 Brazilian teams, neither of them making it. And then in 9th place, the Alain car. Not surprising, really, with that driver with so little experience in these cars, Bertrand Baguette, although he does know the circuit well. So now we're going to move on to the quarter-final lineup. And this is going to be interesting to see how this works. Head-to-head, 2 drivers. And the big question is
is it better to be first or second of the two? The two are going to go round together, basically, in tandem, but they'll separate themselves out, and you can explain why they're going to do that.
Yes.
But do you lead and just have a clear track and keep your head down and concentrate, or do you try and follow and catch somebody? That's the big question mark. Drivers were polled on this, and they were absolutely divided, you know, half and half.
There's another car that went off. Corinthians,
car,
we didn't see that happen during the session, but he ended up in the gravel.
Well, Pizzoni had been racing a touring car in Brazil this year. And
anyway, going back to the quarterfinals, it's the top 4 from each group have gone through, and basically for the next round, top plays bottom. So the quickest from Group 1 will play the 4th quickest from Group 2. Or Group A and B, I should say.
Yeah, here we've got the matches here.
This is how they do it. And they go out in twos, and your question to me, Andrew, was that because the cars will be released absolutely together, the drivers won't want to drive around nose to tail together because it's too easy to trip over each other and, of course, affect the performance of the car that you're following. But it's whether you want to lead or chase. And if I was the driver, I'd want to chase because it helps you to have a target.
Yeah.
You can manage to draw a bit more out of yourself to have a target to chase.
Now, one thing we should explain here, they go out, they do one lap, installation lap, one flying lap, and that's it.
And then they have to pit in at the end of the slowing down lap. So the pressure's on, you've got to do it one good lap without a mistake, and I think I might be putting some money on Craig Dolby in the Anderlecht car because he did that in session 1. I beg your pardon,
on session 2,
and he qualified his car in 4th place in one time lap, so he'll be looking strong. I fancy him for this run. And Madrid driver just been shown his time, so that's showing him who his rival is for this session, because he finished quickest, so he will come up against 4th place driver from Group A.
Having said all that, it's only fractions of a second between them anyway, so we can see some big changes here.
And at the end of the day, it's irrelevant who you're against because you're competing against the clock anyway. So it doesn't really matter who they are. This isn't a race. They're just trying to do a lap time.
So to reset the scene, we've got 8 cars remaining in this qualifying. The cars which are knocked out, they will line up in, not actually in time order, but in their position. They were in either A or B. A on the right side of the grid, I think, and B on the left. Have to get absolute confirmation on that. That's how they will line up. But these 8 that remain, any of them could be on pole position, really.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly. It's knockout in just the same way that a football tournament is a knockout.
And that's just another of the innovative, put the teeth back in, ideas that have come out of this championship. And this series has been some 4 or 5 years in gestation, so they're really pretty prepared for it. The cars, well, they all seem to be running well. As we look now at Paul Meyer, relatively new name to me, has been racing in Formula Renault, and he's a last-minute addition to that Dortmund team.
He's a quick driver. He's had some success at the junior levels, but certainly less experienced than a lot of his rivals here. But it doesn't seem to be holding him back, as indeed it didn't hold back Dolby, the 20-year-old English driver in the Anderlecht car.
Yeah, some big reputations, taking a bit of knocking today.
Exactly. So here's the progression. Here's the family tree, we can call it, and they're obviously looking to progress from left to right and be the last 2 in the final. The quickest one in the final will take pole position for the race.
So, tyre warmer still on there with Souček, those piercing blue eyes of the Austrian stroke Spanish driver. And Souček certainly was impressive.
Quickest this morning in the free practice sessions, so I would think he'll be feeling pretty confident for this session. Got an advantage of 0.4 of a second from his first qualifying session just a moment ago.
Got teams from various countries running these cars. This happens to be a German team here. And we've got British teams, Italian teams, Spanish teams as well. There are those tyre warmers. Really a bit like a warm blanket for your bed, really.
Yeah. That's
I mean, they've
right.
been used in motor racing a lot. Quite a lot of people trying to ban them because they cost quite a bit of money.
Yeah, they have actually got electric. They're just like a heated blanket. They've got an electric element in them, and you plug them into the mains and wrap the tyre up nice and tight, and it actually cooks effectively, slowly cooks and warms the rubber. And what that achieves then is the car and the driver can perform more quickly as soon as they join the track. Otherwise, if you go out with cold tyres, these slick tyres, and they're brand new, it takes 2 or 3 laps to reach operating temperature. And during that time, the car's moving around a lot, sliding. It's quite easy to spin off and make a mistake. So
when you take those blankets off and you put your hand on the tyre, it really, I mean, you can touch it, but it's pretty warm.
Properly warm, properly warm. And personally, I'm not against it on grounds of cost, because these cars are so expensive to run that if you did 3 warm-up laps with that car with a V12 4-litre engine, well, work out the cost of that. The cost of 3 laps, they do cost a lot of money to run, and the cost per lap, if you break it down over the whole season, it's probably hundreds, if not thousands of pounds a lap. Therefore, you can put the case for tyre warmers, because you don't waste 3 laps warming up. You go out and get on it straight away.
Motor racing people can be very clever, though. Sometimes they ban these tyre warmers, and then you see they've got little tents, and they're blowing hot air into the tents and warm them up that way.
Or certainly try and do it sneakily or secretly. We did, I won't name the team, but we did exactly that once. We ducted a space heater into the belly locker of the truck, and we had some tyres in there. Well, we happened to forget to take those tyres out of the belly locker, and then when we came to the race, they were nice and warm. And thankfully, none of the marshals put their hand on the tyre as we went out, but keep that one quiet, he says, as he just announced it on live television.
Calvin, obviously you've raced Formula 3 cars, you've tested quite a lot of different Formula 1 cars. Now, you've got the odd grey hair here. I mean, would you like to have a go in one of these? Obviously, you've had a great career in touring car racing subsequent to that, but I think we ought to try and get you in the car so you can really tell us what it's all about.
It's just highlights, you noticing my hair, actually, Andrew.
Right. But looking at the ages of these drivers, I mean, most of them, we've got an 18-year-old, and the oldest is 28, I think, and most of the guys are 22 or 23. And the point I'm trying to make is this is a young man's sport.
Of course, You know, I've had my go at single-seater Formula. I'm not going to make a career as a single-seater stroke Formula 1 driver anymore. That was my target. It's the target of all of these guys when you start racing. But I could still drive the car, and I'd love to try. If given the chance, I would love to have a try in one of these,
Okay, Atletico de Madrid going out. Where's the second car then? Here it is.
Borussia Dortmund, Paul Meyer, and he waited. They were actually released together, but he, as I suspected, he's actually waited to put a gap between himself and the Madrid car.
10 or 15 seconds. We're going to have this timing, which is going to help us work out who's in the lead. Obviously, we can't see the whole of the track, but we'll get a pretty good idea, and so will you, viewers, of who is on a really hot one. Remember, they're just on the warm-up lap now.
So they have to keep working and working those tyres to keep the heat. Even though they had heaters on them, the tyre will initially lose some temperature on the out lap. This is what we call the warm-up lap, the out lap, and they'll be weaving around. You probably see them working the steering and soaring around a little bit. He did it there just to try and generate some more heat and hopefully not wipe all the pigeons out, which won't help his cause. So,
very concentrated now.
Quite near the end of his lap. He's got one more corner, and he'll be looking for a good drive off this last chicane onto the pit straight. And there's that. He had a bit of a slide on that mud. That we noticed the mud there during the last session, but he accelerates out. Andy Soucek crosses the line, and the clock starts. So we wait Borussia Dortmund to start his lap. First corner. Round into the second, and Dortmund's crossed the line. So first corner here, Paul Meyer. It's a third gear left-hander. Next one, this right-hander's pretty much nearly flat, and then power out of there into the 90-degree right-hander, which leads onto the back straight. The Bianchi corner, that's that one there. So Madrid sector 1 time is a 24.1. That's the target for Dortmund. 24.2, that's very close.
Yep, very close indeed between these two.
1/100th of a second is the difference, so we rejoin Madrid in sector 2. It's about a 53-second split from memory, yeah, 53-0. So that's the target for Dortmund.
And let's check out what he does. Just see that clock, 52.8. So he's gone quicker, so these are absolutely neck and neck.
2.8, yeah, there's just under 2/10 between them as Madrid, Souček closes the lap on a 17.7. I suspect that may not be quick enough, looking at the times they did in the previous sector. So here comes Meyer, Dortmund, 17.4, so he's 3/10 in front. So
well, that's fantastic for a young driver.
Yeah.
Remember, until today, he'd never driven one of these cars. He'd never driven anything nearly as powerful as that.
Great job.
Paul Meyer, fantastic job.
yeah, relatively local driver, so he goes through to the semi-final. And he actually bumped Souček, who's been one of the quickest runners all day. So great performance by that young Dutch driver.
As we said, stars are being born in Super League Formula. Paul Meyer, when we heard yesterday that he was going to drive today, we had to get on to Google and check him out, really. On his slowing down lap now, and I'm sure when he comes in, he's going to get a big round of applause for all the hard-working mechanics, the engineers. Everybody pretty well knows what the mechanics are, but just explain the role of the engineer. Most of these cars will have one main engineer and probably a data guy as well.
Yeah, a lot of the big teams. I mean, if you take the example of Formula 1 teams, they've got dozens of those guys. But these are smaller teams. They're professional race teams, so they will have an engineer by trade, what we call a race engineer, and his job is to analyse the data with the data guy, talk to the driver, interface with the driver, get a feel for what the car's doing as the next two leave on their warm-up lap, and make adjustments to the car to hone the performance of the car.
And you as a driver, that relationship with your engineer can be very, very important.
Yeah, it is absolutely very important, and it also goes beyond professional level, really. It's how the two characters interact.
Yeah.
Often I've found the more successful combination is when you're suited to each other. It's almost like marriage.
Well, this will be an interesting one. Anderlecht, Craig Dolby versus AC Milan in the former Robert Dornbos. Well, huge disparity of experience between these two.
Yeah.
Dornbos with quite a lot of Grand Prix under his belt. Very successful last year in the Champ Car Series. Rookie of the Year, finished 3rd overall. And then you've got this young kid, Craig Dolby, who's been racing in Formula Renault. And really at a very different level. But absolutely stunned everybody in the first 2 rounds of the series. Let's see what they can do. This is a good head-to-head, this battle here.
So Dolby into the last corner. Remember, he was a star in the previous session, did it one-time lap at the end of the session, and he's coming off the back of 2 second-place podium finishes at the Nürburgring last time. So Anderlecht and Dolby start the lap first, and we await the Milan car to cross the line and start the split.
And now we've got split screen, we see both of them go on.
Milan crosses the line to start the clock. Anderlecht car near the end of the first sector. From memory, it's a 24, 24. Haven't seen anyone in the 23s yet, I don't think, for that sector, so that's a good target.
Now we're going to see in just a moment who is running faster.
24.3 Milan. So again, Dolby is doing the job. He's got a 2.5 advantage from sector 1. About 50 seconds. The next sector, 52.5. That's a quick time from Dolby. Remember, they're doing 53s most of the other runners, so he's looking strong.
This really is the charge of the youngsters here, the experienced boys who had Meyer going through, and now it looks as if we're going to get Dolby through as well.
Yeah, look at that, 53.2 Milan, so he's 7/10 of a second quicker in sector 2, and I think Anderlecht and Dolby are safe to go through to the next round. A 17.2 did see a 16 in the last session, so it's possible to beat that time.
But Dolby really hooked up, and Bobby D, as they call him in the States, will be a little disappointed with that. 18-1.
18-1, almost a second off. So Anderlecht go through, and Milan almost a second off the pace.
So
there he is.
We're continuing with this, the next of these quarterfinals, halfway through them. Slowing down a lap for Craig Dolby. As we said, went to the football match with Anderlecht last night. He was actually allowed him on the pitch at the start, and he kicked the ball. He started it. Apparently they do that in the Belgian league here.
Yeah, they have
I don't know whether he sort of ran off quickly afterwards. Now he's quite interested in football. He plays with the local team, but the last time he played, he actually broke his ankles.
Right, he should stick to driving.
I think he should. The way he's going now.
He looks a bit better at that to me. Yeah. So another great job by young Craig Dolby. Not a name I know much about. I suspect you neither, Andrew. But
well, he's done most of his racing over here. He was telling us yesterday that he's been in a team. I think it was last year. It just didn't gel and didn't get any good results at all. But obviously he's got the talent.
Yes, yeah, very quick driver with almost a second advantage from that session. So he'll be feeling strong, and he's through into the semi-final.
Comes from a town in Leicestershire called Melton Mowbray, which is very famous for its special meat pies. Melton Mowbray pork pies, they're famous.
There's his team await Dolby, and the next two quarter-finalists have left, Liverpool and Porto, which I think was a real football match not so long back.
I think it was, yeah.
But anyway, we'll see what comes out of that. They're leaving the pits together, pretty close together. I'll be interested to see whether they actually stay that close together.
Adrian Valles in the red car for Liverpool, Spanish driver. And the man has been pretty quick all morning.
Yeah, he was a pace setter this morning. He's still quite close. The Porto car's braking now, so I would be surprised to see two cars go close together. Yeah, Porto's dropped off the back. He's not doing much warming up of his tyres, that Porto car, so that'll be interesting to see whether the Liverpool car has an advantage in the beginning of the lap, because his tyres are warmer, perhaps. But yeah, he's pushing a bit harder on this warm-up lap. Still weaving a bit.
Yeah, I wonder what Alex Ferguson thinks about all this.
Car quite hard. I think his confidence will be up because he was mostly in the top three this morning in the time sessions, and they're still running quite close together.
Yeah, they are.
Unusual. But, yeah, we'll see if that affects their performance being so close together. So Liverpool cross the line first. Valles, the driver,
traced by Christian Gomendi from Paris. Quite a good pianist as well.
Is he?
Indeed. We've had a number of Formula 1 drivers with good pianists. The late Elio De Angelis, absolutely fantastic pianist.
So, running together, and
well, we're going to see much quicker, aren't we, this time, how close they are together.
Yeah, we haven't had a split, actually. We should have had a split stop already. Let's hopefully it's working on the second splits.
Lost our timing for that.
We're still running quite close together.
There's the Liverpool car. Let's have a look at the actual physical gap on the road if we can. No, we don't quite get that.
Looks quite stable, this car, and tidy.
Yeah.
As I said, he's been setting the pace this morning, or one of the paces. They're still very close together.
They're very close. That gap's pretty well as they went across the line the first time, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're going to have to wait for the end of the lap to see their lap time. So Liverpool crosses the line first.
There is FC Porto. And I think it's Liverpool that took that.
Yeah, it's a 17.4. For some reason, the official timing has failed, but we've got a 17.4 for Liverpool, and we've got an 18.6 for Porto. So it's Liverpool that go through.
So Liverpool through. Adrian Valles, three very good Spanish drivers in this series. So they're on their slowing down lap. And I must say, it's been pretty quick the way they've filtered them all through. Last of the quarterfinals coming up in just a moment. Here at Super League Formula at Zolder in Belgium, former home of the Belgian Grand Prix back in the 70s. A challenging circuit. They finally clocked the time that was done. And a round of applause. And they call those, where they sit up there, they call those the Pratt perches.
Yes.
And some of them are quite works of art. Now, in this series, they all come from a central supplier, and they're supplied to the teams. If you go to America, something like the American Le Mans series, I think one particular team got about 30 different screens at the back of those. And then I think it's Penske Racing, and then Roger Penske sits right at the very top left, 3 stories up.
Yeah.
Takes about half a day to erect the thing.
I've seen that in Japan, where it's a way they like to do it in Japan. The team principal sits higher than everyone else, and it's all about status and, well, ego, I suspect.
How did you cope with that race in Japan? Did a lot of bowing, I suspect, and eating sushi. You have to bow at the right level.
Sushi's good, yes, you do, yeah. And, OK, so diverting off my diet habits to the last quarterfinal is Beijing against Sevilla, and the Beijing car, the green car, is the championship leader.
Davida is driver, Rigon. Again, they're close.
These
they're
two
even
are
closer,
starting the lap close. This is the warm-up lap, remember, so they may well separate before the end of the lap for the timed lap.
I think this format works really well. I think it's good, this.
Yeah, it's a good idea. There's a lot of dirt on the track there. One of those previous cars has cut across there and scattered dirt, which is, if you want to be crafty, it's the sort of thing you would do on your slow down lap. Cut across and throw some dirt on to slow the others down.
The famous Australian world champion from the 60s, late 50s, Sir Jack Brabham, was famous for, and those cars are very different to those with narrow tyres, but he was famous for putting wheels out in the dirt when he got people right behind him, showering them with stones. And this is the same sort of deal. We're just about to go onto the hot lap now. The Beijing car.
Rigon crosses the line. These two are fairly close together, comparatively. Sevilla, 7 seconds behind, so that's quite a close gap.
That's Borja Garcia.
First sector time we're looking for is a low 24 from memory. 24.3.
Great to see the timing working again.
So 24.3 the target for Sevilla.
23.9.
23.9, that's a good time. I think that's the first 23 we've seen for that sector. So he's looking strong. This green car, remember, the championship leader, Beijing, after the 4 races that we've had.
And he's one of only 2 drivers who's been on the podium twice out of the 4 races we've had.
Yeah.
The other one being Craig Dolby.
Yeah.
Nürburgring, where he was second in the first race, which surprised quite a lot of people, and then started near the back. Look at that, look at the difference now.
Fantastic 52 for second sector for Sevilla, and that's definitely the quickest second sector we've seen. Borja Garcia, another Spanish driver, going well. So Beijing does a 17.9, that's not a strong lap, and Sevilla will demolish that, I predict.
17.1.
Yeah.
So Sevilla go forward to the semi-finals coming up here. Great pictures from all around the track. So, down to 4.
Down to 4, same system again, they go out in 2s, and the quickest one will go through to the final. There's the Seville team, and they progress to the next round. Engineer, you see, just pressing his radio button, so he's talking to the driver there on the in-lap to give him the good news.
Now, on this lap now, because you're going to go out so quickly, you've obviously got to do a bit of time management, I would guess.
Yeah, you said, Andrew, they have 4 sets of tyres for the weekend.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether you would try and use all 4 in qualifying or...
And to flame there, we saw that
flame,
in...
might be just a flame on the overrun, what we call the overrun, when he throttles off and it puts a bit of fuel into the exhaust, which ignites. Yeah, it looks like actually it's not there anymore, so nothing to worry about. But yeah, I guess the measurement is whether they want to, the judgment is whether they want to use all 4 new sets in this quality. There's a flame again. I think it's okay, but he's just done another big flame on the slow down there. I think he's okay. Or whether they want to save, to go back to the tyres, whether they want to save those new tyres for race 2. So there's the Dortmund car. Anderlecht car. These, I suspect, are the ones that have progressed through.
These are the ones that have gone through,
semis, yeah. Liverpool.
FC.
Yeah, and really took a lot of that, big speed hump curb that he took a big bite out of that there. So that obviously was worth some time. And the Sevilla car, nice and tidy that. And there he is, rejoining the pits.
So just a little breather before he goes out again. And there you see how the knockout's working.
See in the background the Anderlecht cars seems to be ready to go. I don't know. They won't wait too long before these semi-finals.
They only give them so much time as well. They have to. They give them a 10-second ball and they've got to be out.
Yeah.
And then the clock starts, whether they've gone or not.
Yes. So you've got to be ready in your car with the engine running. Otherwise, you will be refused exit from the pit lane, which obviously
knocks you out.
Is going to harm your chances of progressing to the next round.
As you see from the...
there we go, 30 seconds is held up.
Yeah. As you see from the flags there, we've got quite a stiff breeze here. That can affect the cars to a degree as well, but a nice bright day. There's a suggestion there might be some rain tomorrow. Let's hope not. We've had rain at both the previous 2 rounds of this series in only one of the 2 races. There's the Borussia Dortmund car still in the pit box.
But they've been very careful to keep the temperature in the tyres. See, they've got the blankets over the tyres. The Anderlecht car, which I don't know if he's in the first semi-final or not, but he's sat in the pit lane without tyre warmers on. So that'll be interesting to compare those 2. And he leaves the pits, Anderlecht. So same thing, same deal, 1 warm-up lap and 1 time lap.
There you saw the sign, the beautiful race. We've had the beautiful game. That's football, soccer if you like. And this Super League formula, the beautiful race.
So Liverpool is his rival. That's why the Dortmund car is sat with the tyre heaters on, because he's got 5 or 6 minutes before he goes out.
What do you reckon here?
I reckon the guy in the purple car, Anderlecht, Craig Dolby.
Yeah, against Valles.
Yeah. They're both quick, actually. Valles has been quick all day, but I would bet on this one here.
He just seems to be able to turn that quick lap on.
Yeah, he's very good at doing 1 lap, which is what this is. So I think he's ideally suited to go through.
And of course, he's done a lot of races here.
Yeah.
Won this Belgian championship for Formula Renault, and most of the races were either here at Spa. I think they went one race outside Belgium.
They haven't got many circuits in Belgium, so he will have raced here a lot. And Dolby powers out of the last corner to cross the line and start the clock. We'll be looking for a low 17 or even a high 16, I would suggest, to go through to the next round.
And on your right screen, the Liverpool car just starting the clock now, so it's about 10 seconds between the pair of them.
Looking for a high 23 for sector 1 is a competitive time. So halfway down the straight.
Yeah.
24 dead. Good enough. Let's see what the second car does.
Craig Dolby.
Liverpool's way off it. The clock hasn't stopped again. We've got some problems with it.
Oh, there it goes.
4-7, but yeah, he's some way off. 7/10 damage done already. So Liverpool needs to get his head down for the rest of the lap.
Dropping 0.7 in the first sector really means you've got a massive task, a huge task to do.
There's a heap of time, and Dolby's on it. Car looks tight and good. He's driving aggressively, and the split timer hasn't worked on Dolby's car. We've got a 54.1 from Liverpool, which isn't bad. A high 53 is good for the second sector, and Anderlecht crossed the line and closed the lap. And
1:17.191.
17.1's a good time.
But Liverpool
Is it
looking
good
good now. But no, they're not. 19
dead. That's a terrible time. There must have been a mistake
That's a
somewhere.
problem because he was fast in the second sector.
He was, yeah. 19 dead is a very poor time. We missed that. It was out of shot, but he obviously had a problem somewhere, a slide, I suspect, or a mistake on the brakes. So Anderlecht and Dolby go through to the final.
So we know he's going to be on the front row of the grid. It's just which side
first
now,
or
really.
Second, yeah.
And of course the honour of taking pole position.
Great job by him.
Yeah.
Because remember, he missed most of his first qualifying session, the 15-minute session. He was sat in the pits with some car problem. We don't know what the detail was, but he only got one lap into this knockout section, and he's gone quickest every time.
And this is great for Zolder. We've got a Belgian football club, a guy that's done most of the racing in Belgium and being run by a Belgian team as well.
Great job.
There they are, just cruising round. Now, obviously, Craig Dolby's got to do it all again very quickly.
He's got one more session to do. We've got semi-final 2 to run, and those cars will be going out virtually straight away. And
there they come in. Yep, semi-final 2 coming up here.
And then the purple car, Anderlecht, will be in the final shoot-off.
There they are. Nice shot, the two of them together.
We've got Seville and Borussia Dortmund. He's waiting to get a gap.
Another young charger here, Paul Meyer.
First time in, but again, a local-ish driver with a lot of experience of this track. Not much experience of these cars, but he knows this track well. He's Dutch from just across the border, so he will have raced here a fair few times. So that'll help make up for his relative inexperience in these cars.
They do have a 24-hour race around this track. Not sure if he's done that, but mainly for touring and GT cars. A lot of laps on a short circuit like this.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
In fact, this circuit, very busy track indeed. There's a lot of racing here. I think there's about 15 race weekends here.
So his pace is quite hot on the warm-up lap there on the Seville car. Spanish driver, Borja Garcia, he's pushing quite hard on the outlap here, so he's dropped off Paul Meyer quite some gap. Doesn't matter, of course, they don't need to be together. But again, they're only against the clock.
So the little-known Paul Meyer against a very well-established Spanish pro, Borja Garcia, who also had a very successful karting career before he moved up to the big vehicles.
So here he comes across the line. Clock will start for his single timed lap. Brakes deep into the first corner. It's like a third gear left-hander, and straight into a right. Not much braking for this right. It's a long double right. Dortmund crosses the line. Start the clock.
About 14 seconds behind.
We're looking for a low 24 or a high 23 first sector split.
And Kelvin, I think Dortmund will hardly see the other car, will he? Look at that.
No, he's well out of sight. Well out of sight. And we've still got that problem with the split timer. Let's just consult my screen, see what we've got up there. Giving me a 25.2.
I'm getting the feeling that these two are pretty close, actually. We'll see in just a minute's time, of course, who is going to go through to the final. Looks from semi-final 2.
It's quite sharp, that car. It's changing direction pretty well. And, he's another one of the Spanish drivers who's been quite quick all day. And again, we've lost. There seems to be a little problem with the split timing. We've lost the split facility, so we'll go on lap times. And low 17 or high 16 is the target. So 17.4.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
And Meyer will have to work hard to zap that time.
Here he is.
Yes, he's going to do it. He's close, and he crosses the line. Well, it was close. He did it.
Well done.
So the Dortmund car goes through to the final, and two of the youngest, least experienced drivers in the whole of Super League Formula will be head-to-head for pole position. That's a big surprise.
Well done to those two. And Paul Meyer, this is his first weekend in this car. And last time at the Nürburgring was Craig Dolby's first weekend. Or his first finish, anyway.
Yeah, his first finish.
First finish, to be
They had mechanical problems at Donington.
Yeah. So, relative newcomers setting the pace here.
Not many people would have bet on that front row of the grid.
No. Of course, the two losing semi-finalists will make the second row of the grid.
Yeah. It all works really well.
He cruises back in, and they've got one more session head-to-head, these two, the Dortmund car and the Anderlecht, to decide who will start from pole, but they're both front row of the grid. It's more for prestige than anything else, kind of immaterial, because they're both front row starters. It's a long race. It's not absolutely critical to be inside, pole position with position inside for the first corner, but in a race of this length, it's not do or die.
And there the Anderlecht car, getting its way into the final with the young Craig Dolby. And the team really like that, you can tell. They were delighted with that. And there's the other semi-finalist, young Paul Meyer. And his team equally delighted as well they might. So just a couple of minutes or so before they go out again, just take a little breather.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll change tyres. It'll be interesting to see whether they make any adjustments on the cars or indeed change tyres. I suspect they may not change tyres, because you're asking a lot to put a cold set of tyres on and
certainly
only warm it in one lap. It's just too easy to make a mistake.
There you are. That's the final shootout. Borussia Dortmund versus RSC Anderlecht. Anderlecht, interesting team, because although they're close to Brussels, they have support from the whole of Belgium, which of course has two different languages, but it's got a general support, that team, over the whole of Belgium. Very popular. So
one of the top teams, obviously, in European competitions. They feature in a lot of the big cup competitions, and they are putting new tyres on.
Yeah,
I did wonder. They must have been in heaters, because they won't put cold tyres on for a one-lap run. And I want to see the other car, whether they do the same on the Anderlecht car. I'm actually surprised to see that, but I want to get a compare with the other car. Hopefully we can take a sneak at the other car before he goes out.
Well, this has been a real turn up for the books. And maybe we can look into the garage of the Anderlecht car.
Well, they're still outside.
Yeah, they're still outside
last time, and they're not changing the tyres. I can see the rear wheel on this side, unless they've already done it. They've got the blankets on, so they're keeping the heat in. Yeah, he's keeping the same tyres, which I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, he knows how they're tuned to the circuit.
Yeah.
And big moment in the young career of Craig Dolby.
Remember, he's only done 1 or 2 laps on those tyres anyway, so they're virtually
pretty
brand
new. Yeah. So, tension high here at Zolder for these final 3 laps. One of them, of course, the hot lap. We're talking about Anderlecht, Calvin. They'd won the European Cup Winners' Cup back in '76 and again in '78. They've won the UEFA Cup as well. And they've won the Belgian First Division some 29 times. So they're a top team. They play in something called the Superleague, and their coach is Ariel Jacobs, I think it's a German coach.
The top team, they've won it. They've won the league. They've won the home league 5 years out of the last 6. So Man United style.
Yeah,
it's an interesting comparison we've got in this session then. So we've got the Anderlecht car on its used but warm tyres, and we've got the Dortmund car on its brand new.
And there's the checkered flag waving, so they're out on that, what the motorcycle racing boys call the installation lap. Warming up lap.
Dolby took off quite quickly, and Meyer in the Dortmund car is more cruising on his outlap. Yeah, he's going almost full speed on his outlap, Dolby, so just trying to generate a bit more heat. The tyres will have cooled while he's sat in the pitch, because see him weaving around there to get some more heat into them. And Meyer also weaving in the background. Did see some dust or smoke come up behind the Dortmund car. I think maybe he just ran wide in the corner and picked up a bit of dirt. The aerodynamics underneath the car tend to pick stuff up off the road. So if the road is dusty, you see what can sometimes look like smoke, but it's actually just sucking dirt off the road.
And occasionally when they have street races, new street races, they don't realise they have to weld down the actual covers, the drain covers, and they suck them up as well. They always had a race cancelled in China because of that once.
Yeah. That shows you how much negative pressure they can generate underneath the car. It's enough to suck a cast iron drain out of the road, which weighs a fair bit. So Dolby, elect car, powers out the last corner and across the line to start his lap. Clock starts now.
He is on it. And into that first left-hander, very tricky corner. Using all the curb across the side of the road and back down. Long right-hander, he goes off, and he's just trying too hard, and that...
no, he's blown it.
Yeah, he's blown it. He was pushing hard, that canal turn has caught him out.
Oh, now Dortmund's coming around the corner, so Dolby's continuing his spin, so that will have compromised Dortmund a bit, but obviously not as much as he is compromised.
And he can just cruise now.
Yeah, that settles it. He's not going to do a competitive time after that spin.
And this is the car that was actually vacated by Nelson Philippe, the French driver who drove it in the first two meetings. And I'm sure that the team must be absolutely delighted with their new steed.
With his performance, yeah, but that's a shame, because I would bet the young lad was hoping for pole position.
Here he is again, just got wide, didn't he? Into the dirt, was no coming back then.
Actually water in there as well. We had rain yesterday, and around she goes, relatively harmless, but of course it spoiled the lap.
Yeah. See it from another angle.
Lucky not to go in the gravel, but again, if that had have happened, it's kind of irrelevant, because his perfect lap is spoiled already.
And there it is on board. Look at the dirt flying up into the camera as well. And there are certain Leicestershire oaths going into that crash helmet right there.
Right, she went twice, so that sets, let's assume the Dortmund car closes the lap, and he has in fact closed the lap, so pole position for Dortmund, Paul Meyer, first time in the car, so that's a great performance by him, and also, despite the spin, great performance by Craig Dolby to come through to the final, and he'll start the race on the front row of the grid, second place.
Well, that's absolutely huge.
Yeah, he's done really well.
Two youngsters at the front. So remember, tomorrow we've got two races. We've got the first race, the order you've just seen will be the way they start, and then the second race, they'll be in the reverse order of how they finished. And both these races are going to have pit stops. They're going to change all four tyres, so lots of action coming up here from Zolder. We've seen some great qualifying, new system, only the third time they've run it. They've had a few glitches before. There you see how it all panned out as the 18 cars were then reduced and down to that final two. And then that very exciting battle for pole position where ultimately Craig Dolby blew it, but at least he'll be on the front row of the grid. And we certainly look forward to the action tomorrow here. So, as I said, they've been honing this system a bit with this knockout. It worked absolutely perfectly, I'd say. And here is the Borussia Dortmund car coming in. So, Paul Meyer have something to celebrate. He'll be wanting to get an early night, though. Could be the biggest day of his young career.
Team are very pleased with his job, so I think we'll see big smiles from Meyer as he climbs out, pushing the car back in, and they've time to fettle the car, some more adjustments, and talk to the driver about how it's performing. Not too unhappy with Dolby. It's good enough front row start.
Yeah.
Nothing to worry about.
Reassuring little pat on the shoulder.
Yeah.
He'll be disappointed, but overall he's going to be very happy that he's starting on the front row of the grid. Tall, blonde young man, very pleasant lad.
Big smile on Meyer, I can see already through his helmet. So
18 drivers here. The least known of them is this guy, Paul Meyer. He's on the pole and he shows it to the crowd. I'm number one.
Great job. So that puts him in a strong position for tomorrow.
There he is. He's lifted off the ground and hugs all round. And I think in a moment we're going to be able to hear from the young man as he still receives the handshake. So Lindsay's down there. And we're going to find out exactly what he's got to say for himself. Needs to get that crash helmet off or it's going to be a bit muffled. And it'll be a bit like that. You see just taking the earplugs out where... And let's hear from him right now. And he's got a big smile.
What a great result today. You just jumped in the car. How was that?
Yeah, it's the first day in the car. Yesterday we made the seat. And yeah, it's incredible to do it like this, I think. First time, not for me as Zolder, of course. I did a few races here. But the car is incredible. And in the first practice I had only 5 laps. And the second practice was only 30 minutes. And to be so quick, so fast, I didn't expect it. It's great. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, he looks pretty cool, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's done a great job. And he was saying how little running he'd had before the session. And he certainly produced the goods.
So let's see a little bit of this action. There is the man on his fast lap, heading towards pole position. Taking quite a bit of curb there, unnerving the car, but not much curb as it comes out. That's exactly the right line.
Yeah. You break into that chicane and cut a lot of it, and there's that big sort of lump on the inside of the second part of the corner, and he was careful to avoid that. So that shows he does know this circuit very well.
Lots of media attention down there. So I think we're going to be able to see the final lineup for tomorrow's race in a moment as Paul Meyer, the virtual unknown, signs the autographs, speaks to more media, and still reflecting on what happened. So there he is. And we can just catch up on that spin, maybe, of the Craig Dolby. There he is.
Just ran a bit too wide coming out of that second corner, dropped it off into the dirt. Round she went twice.
Dolby still down there and still giving those media interviews. Big pits blocks here with that top level. They put hospitality suites up there. And, so there'll be plenty of people to come and see the action here tomorrow.
Well, we've got the local car on the front row.
Yep, that should help promote some people. They've been promoted this race very well on the local television, so should have a good crowd. This is what's coming up tomorrow, Sunday the 5th of October. These times are GMT, incidentally. Race 1 live at 9 o'clock, race 2 live at midday. Obviously work it out from where you're sitting to watch this television coverage going around the world. A lot of interest in Super League Formula and this excellent idea of marrying the race teams and drivers to their different football squads. So that's about it. We'll take a break here as we see the face of the man who is on pole position